So we're doing like a full circle to why I have created my YouTube channel called The Think I Feel It. Because I feel like there's always this gap. I've always been in between those two camps of people. Those who are thinkers and, you know, they're like anti anything irrational. And then there's the other camp, which is happy-go-lucky and are not so much keen of the uptight, precision-driven, analytical, skeptical, judgmental kind of pervert person. So being in between is just, where is there? Who is there in between like I am? Not many people, right? And so most of the time I'm just there by myself, talking to the camera, just like now. So I will not sing today. Fear not. And I will not rap today. But we need to have a talk. Because people seem to not like my lack of talent. Or, for lack of better words, my human side. I sang, I lost followers. I rapped, I got unfriended. And that kind of shocked me, especially realizing that the person who unfriended me was longtime friends from college. And that just hit something in there, broke something in there. It's the art of not giving a fuck. So I thought this section was pretty interesting, kind of relevant, and it's called Kill Yourself. It goes like this. Buddhism argues that your idea of who you are is an arbitrary mental construction that you should let go of. The idea that you exist at all. That the arbitrary metrics by which you define yourself actually trap you. And thus, you are better off letting go of everything. Right? Letting go of all the haters. Out of my life. Out of my sight. You do not exist anymore. Right? Bon débarras. New chapters ahead. I was not born as this know-it-all kind of archetype. I constructed it, refined it, perfected it, so that it's easier for people to understand, right? Because people just can't read between the lines. So they need something easy to identify the person with. And so there you go. But then it traps you, it traps me into this framework, which as soon as I step outside of it, people just can't compute, and then they unfriend me, or they whatever, right? And it's very suffocating. Can you imagine living like you're in a cage? That every single movement you're making, you're hitting the walls around you because the cage is so small. And it's a cage that you've put yourself into. Because people just don't know. It took me 9 years to create a language tool that allows people to understand me. It allows me to just be just the way that others can understand, right? It takes work to be likable. But as soon as I free myself from all those conceptual things and just let myself go, boom, I'm hated for it. There's something wrong in society for that, don't you think? I know people just don't know. People just live their lives and they have their own problems and struggles. I understand that. And so do I have my own. But I don't feel like people realize how much effort I put into becoming something for people to see. I change my speech patterns, the words I use, in order to use keywords that are more understandable to specific personality types. But as soon as I make the error of not switching gear, switching lane, and some days I would be stuck on this lane, and inadvertently I would use a different channel to talk to someone, and then I'm reprimanded for it. And so I don't really belong to a camp, any camp, a group, right? I'm just at the crossroad. I've always been. Someone just asked me, like, how could you be in Vancouver all these years and don't have friends to share my ad, so that, you know, she's looking for someone hopefully to help her cook for her parents or something, you know, like as a job. But I don't have anyone to share that ad with. It's just, I don't know. I've always been okay being by myself. I've always accepted that reality that I just roam through in between the lives of people and just never really thought of my own as having a space of my own to where I could just belong. Even finding a wife, which has been lately a goal of mine. But if I think about it, has never really been my goal. Has always been a goal that my family has. And being a person who likes to please others, I thought, well, okay, I'll be on the search of someone that could make my family happy. When it comes to my own happiness, there's not much. There's not much that I need. All I know is that I want to leave a legacy behind, and that's all I need. That's all. It's funny how putting the music behind, the atmosphere. But in all seriousness, just like music, it seems like unless the environment triggers me, I would just be empty. There would be nothing. There would be no desires. So I need to constantly place myself in an environment that would make me want, make me desire. My previous relationship, I didn't have desires, and that's why it didn't last. Unless someone desires me, then I would feel it. Or else, the only desire I have is just to push the boundaries of my mind. That I know that I can revolutionize the world, that's without a doubt. But then again, it's funny that I'm talking to the camera instead of someone. But then, it doesn't feel the same. There's that level of intimacy that also scares me. And I do not seek anyone's pity or whatsoever, because that just repulses me and wants me to disappear. Because it should not concern me. It should concern others. It has always been about concerning other people. That's why it hurts when others reproach me for just the flaws of my human ways. If I was an AI, I'd be perfect. But perfection is also cold and without warmth and life. And so, trying to human. It's always easier to crack jokes because, it's easier to digest. Like I said, that friend from college, I wished him, I gave him wishes for getting married recently, and it just came to me suddenly that he hasn't answered, and it just turns out that I was blocked. Not for doing anything, but just for my quirky neurodivergent ways, which is not something that I can contain. I mean, I try to not show any of it. I speak numbers, I speak knowledge, I speak the system I've created, after conceptualizing it for 9 years. To this day, I don't have anything to show for it, except for that system. And yet, still, people just don't get that I'm just human. I know I go on and on and on. I might be spamming someone's stories and get offended again or whatsoever. But I guess at some point it just has to come out. Like, I'm so self-aware that I know my ways, be it good or bad. Like, literally everything, inside out. If you're talking about personality traits, there's no one else in a better position than me who has been dissecting, quantifying human emotions for 9 years. But people just don't think about that. They just think that I just think like everyone else. That I just don't get them. That I talk a certain ways to piss them off. But no, I try to use the right keywords. I try, but then the moment I'm happy and I get carried away, that's when it... So ever since I've created my system, I've connected with so many people who are very different from all walks of life. Nothing like me. And I just feel like, I get attention. But not for the reasons that are, I could say, belongs to this person here. The people I attract come for the system I've created. Comes for this ID, archetype, identity, character that has created a system. They come to the shell. But the person behind all of this is, has a beating heart and is very much alive. And so, for sometimes I thought that, just by talking numbers, that's me. But then, being on those dating apps, and just at first having like a bio saying that, I conceptualize the system and all that, people would just always ask me about my book. So I took it off. just to see who would come to me. And I realized, who's that person behind? Okay, he's a night baker. Sure. Some people still talk to me. And then I get more joy out of those conversations, of course. Sounds more like businessy. But it's not often people who are interested in my brain. And so there's always that gap, right? There's like the audience who just wants to talk to my brain, and the other one wants to get to know my heart. So we're doing like a full circle to why I have created my YouTube channel called The Think Feel It. Because I feel like there's always this gap. I've always been in between those two camps of people. Those who are thinkers, and they're like anti anything irrational. And then there's the other camp, which is happy-go-lucky and are not so much keen of the uptight, precision-driven, analytical, skeptical, judgmental kind of pervert person. So being in between is just, where is there? Who is there in between like I am? Not many people, right? And so most of the time I'm just there by myself, talking to the camera, just like now.